Hello, I'm Emmanuel Bach. I'm back with the 2-minute masterclass, and today it's Ysaye Solo Sonata No.2, first movement. I think the brilliance of the Ysaye Solo Sonatas for violin lies in the riches of musical ideas and of musical and technical development that they contain. And it is fair to say that these 6 solo sonatas show much of the impact and influence of the solo sonatas and partitas by J.S. Bach, yet particularly in this second sonata of the set. And of course it starts with a quotation from the E major partita from the Prélude by J.S. Bach, and that is particularly fitting because this second sonata is dedicated to the great violinist Jacques Thibaud, and it is believed that Thibaud often used to warm up in the mornings with the E major Prélude, so it's a particularly apt choice that Ysaye has made. Yet if we look a little bit closer at Ysaye's text, he's actually changed Bach's bowing slightly. Ysaye uses this bowing, whereas Bach uses this bowing. And I think that's enough to tell us that something already is afoot, that something indeed as well is perhaps not as it seems. And of course that is confirmed just afterwards with this very violent thematic material. Ysaye was said to have been inspired to write these 6 solo sonatas by hearing a performance by Joseph Szigeti, the Hungarian violinist, playing Bach's G minor solo sonata. And I think if we look at this work by Ysaye, it's enough to tell us that it definitely isn't pastiche. In other words, music simply in the style of or imitating another composer, that there's something rather very individual at work. And that lies in the contrast, particularly, that is achieved between these different themes. If we look at the opening material, we'll see that it's marked at the point, leggero, and piano. And I think to achieve that, we can use a gentle but crisp sort of martelé stroke, something like this. And we need to ensure as well that we're not creating any writ that would give the game away at all as to what's about to happen. And as for the martelé, we achieve that by making a relatively firm but still somewhat gentle movement to keep the piano with the right arm and hand. For the violent material that follows, that's marked brutalement, brutally, and we can really afford to be very much engaged with the string and into the string like this, so that the accents are really heard and we really can dig into the string here. So the accents very much come across as being a vital part of the character of that theme. Then, by contrast, the next material, which is another Bach quotation, will sound totally innocuous like this. Of course, much of Ysaye's music is very technically demanding, and a lot of this movement relies on control of different articulations, different dynamics, and different timbres and sounds. And a little bit later we have these tenuto markings here. And there I think we can afford to stroke the string more, because this is offering us respite, temporarily at least, from the brutal theme. A little bit later we have another piece of music from the past, and that's the Dies Irae melody, the Day of Judgment, and that's here. And note the way that Ysaye initially puts it in the bass and then he brings out in the top here. And then returns to the bass. And there we can bring out that melody by creating an impulse using both bow speed and digging into the string a little bit while maintaining the mezzo forte dynamic. A little bit later we have some music which I think sounds quite sinister, and we should really maintain the piano dynamic, and that's here. Note that there is a small hairpin crescendo within that phrase, but apart from that, we really need to maintain the piano dynamic so that the mezzo forte that comes afterwards sounds as a total contrast. Etc. A little bit later, we have this music, which sounds like total respite, and it's marked dolce espressivo, con espressivo, so we have to really find a different sound, and we can play it something like this. So still allowing a little bit of shaping to come in without disturbing this hushed atmosphere that comes as a contrast. Slightly later on, we have a gradual build-up, which in effect actually is felt before it is written, and that's here. And there we need to really pay attention to the accents, noting them that they come in slightly different places. And then they disappear completely at the climax. Note later the Dies Irae theme returns, and there Ysaye actually uses a particular marking which means use the whole of the bow. I think that's more of a notional marking because of course we have to keep some bow for the remaining notes, and that's the meno mosso here. And then of course he brings out the melody in the top again. And that really has to sound fatalistic at its most intense. Ultimately, it is the brutal music that wins, and that's from the final tempo vivo here. That's all for today.